latest on the coronavirus pandemic from our next guest, home state Republican Senator from Louisiana, John Kennedy. Senator, good to have you back with us.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so Senator Sanders, your colleague there over on Capitol Hill, may be out of this race, but he has certainly put his imprint on the Democratic Party in this field, as it's now been whittled down to Vice President Joe Biden. Now, the president is appealing to Sanders supporters and saying, listen, come over with me. This interesting headline just a few days ago, 15% of Bernie Sanders supporters will vote for President Donald Trump's reelection, according to a new ABC News Washington Post poll. So what do you make about the state of play for 2020 at this point?
I'm not sure what Senator Sanders did today. He suspended his campaign, but he's not releasing his delegates, and he's inviting voters to continue to vote for him. Now, that tells me that he's going to go to the convention with a boatload of delegates and is going to try to have an impact. And I can tell you the Sanders supporters, the Sanders delegates, are probably not too happy today. They're probably mad as a mama wasp. So I wouldn't say Bernie's completely out of this. I will say this. I don't think I've ever seen a member of a party change his party as much as Senator Sanders has without being the head of the party. In the last 7 years, since Senator Sanders started running for president, socialism, abortion, illegal immigration have become moral goods, according to many mainstream members of the Democratic Party. The party's been moved substantially to the left, including the standard bearer, Vice President Biden.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, with, as you mentioned, the unusual steps he took today and didn't take today, to see where this ends up. I want to talk to you about what's going on there in Louisiana, because you all have had a really rough go of it with the virus down there. But it sounds like a little bit of good news today. The Monroe News Star saying this: Louisiana reported another one-day record for coronavirus deaths, but hospitalizations and ventilator needs decreased, and a sign the infection may have peaked. Senator, how hopeful are you? It's just an early sign, but maybe a positive one.
We are battered, but we're standing. Our numbers are going down. I want to thank the Trump White House and the Pence Task Force for making sure we had and continue to have everything we need. We worried about running out of ventilators. We never came close. Only about 25% of our ventilators are in use right now. I understand that the arugula and tofu crowd have criticized the president for his response. I want to thank him. And while we're on the topic of the president, I think he's absolutely correct about the World Health Organization. I think if you took President Xi of China, turned him upside down and shook him, the World Health Organization would fall out of his pocket. And that's not acceptable. China lied, and a lot of people died. And the Director General of the World Health Organization helped President Xi cover up, and it's not right.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show, because we've got somebody who's been digging into those ties between China and the WHO, hopefully to shed some light on it for us tonight. There's also talk that tomorrow the Senate is going to try to move on an additional $250 billion in funding. House Democrats have some other plans. They want to add another $250 on top of that $250. This is how it's being described in the Washington Post. Their list of demands includes $100 billion for hospitals, community health centers, and other health systems to increase testing and needed protective gear and equipment, $150 billion more for state and local governments, and a 15% increase in food stamp benefits. Now, a lot of folks would hear that at first blush and say, well, that sounds like the kind of stuff we need. What do you make of their wish list?
I wish I didn't have to say this. Speaker Pelosi is calling the shots, and I think she sees this crisis as a political opportunity. I hope she doesn't object to our proposal to give more money to the small business program. It's working. I wish Senator Schumer would tell her to butt out of the Senate's business, but he hasn't done that, and he's not going to. Chuck just moos and follows the Speaker into the chute like a cow. Speaker Pelosi's calling these shots, and I regret it. We just appropriated, depending upon the leverage, between $2.2 and $4 trillion. That's 12 zeros. Our biggest challenge right now is getting the money into the hands of people and out of the government bank accounts. The small business program we know is working, and that's where we ought to concentrate our firepower. And I hope that the Speaker, and I say this gently, I hope that the Speaker will reconsider her position and let us pass this.
Well, of course, she's going to argue. She's the Speaker of the House. Democrats do control that side of Capitol Hill. You all, the GOP, do control the Senate side. Why should she defer to you?
Well, because from day one, the Speaker has not only called the shots for the House, but she's tried to call the shots for the United States Senate. She parachuted in at the last minute before we passed the CARES Act, when we had 85–90% of it worked out. She caused us to delay passing it by 4 days, and I just think she sees this as a political opportunity more than anything else. Now, I understand politics, Shannon. I've been around it my whole life, but it's time to think about the American people and the next generation, not the next election. We've got to get this economy back on its feet. The coronavirus can kill you, but so can poverty. And we have waterboarded the American economy, and we've got to stand it back up. And until we can do that, we have got to get some money to the American people and to the American business community. It's just as simple as that. That doesn't mean that we just start throwing money at the wall. This money has to be targeted. I hope it will be temporary, but we've got to judge the efforts by the results, and not just throw money to one party's political base.
Yeah, well, the American people have been encouraged by the bipartisan activity so far, and they certainly hope that this one will come together in a quick compromise as well. Senator, thank you for your time. We send all of our prayers to the good people of Louisiana as you continue your tough fight down there, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.